I'm Barbara Nichols, and I'm the president of the UNA USA Dane County chapter, and I'd like to welcome you to our program tonight. For those of you who may not know, the UNA USA Dane County chapter has been in existence for close to 69 years, and it's one of the longest continuous chapters of UNA USA. The United Nations Association of America has close to 120 chapters, including all of the 50 states. This particular chapter has a strong heritage of working for peace, humanitarian, and social justice issues. We partner with many other organizations in the community that deal with equity, equality, and human rights. This begins our program. The activities that we are involved in are, we do a lecture program series that runs from September to June. We have fabulous, marvelous, excellent speakers. People who come with content and subject matter expertise that deals with issues globally and sometimes have local events. We also partner with other organizations to deal with various activities that relate to social justice and human rights. In addition, we work with the Model UN program in high school, and we have an off-and-on relationship with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so what I mean by that is we work with them, but as you know, the students come and go, and some are more enthusiastic than others. So that experience is there, but it varies. We are starting our program at the library. This is a new location for us. So we want to know, we hope that you're able to find parking and that any comments you have about this as a site we would be interested in knowing. A couple of announcements that I would like to make is that this particular lecture is being co-sponsored by returning Peace Corps volunteers at the Madison Public Library as well as ourselves. And I will ask the person representing returning Peace Corps to say a few words.
Hi, my name is Kate Schachter, and I am a member of the Return Peace Corps Volunteers of Wisconsin Madison. I served in Ghana from 2004 to 2007, and the group as a whole has been around for about longer than I have about 40 years or so. Maybe better to the 80s, and then work with But our claim to fame is the international calendars that are an example here on the table. We sell those, and the proceeds go to Peace Corps volunteers serving in the field to help them with the projects that they're working on, as well as local and global multicultural development organizations. And we also sponsor the Freeze for Food every year that sends money to different food hunger-related projects. For the last several years, it's been going to a peace community in Colombia. So I invite you to take a look at the information on the table. Everything on the table except the calendar is free. And you can't buy anything tonight, but we're always around at different events around Madison. We have the calendar at the University Bookstore, at the Serve Fair Trade on Monroe Street, Willie Street Co-op, various places. I'm afraid I don't know all of the spots, but you can find us. We have a website. Grab some information and support the cause. You'll help us continue to build the money that we've donated, which is over $1 million over the last 26 years of producing the calendar. So we've given, these calendars are wildly successful, and we appreciate everybody's support.
Thank you, Kim. We also have another announcement. The African Children's Choir will be doing a free concert on Sunday. I don't remember the name of the church, at 7 p.m. at Christ Christ Presbyterian Church at 944 East Gordon Street. So, would you like to say a few words?
This is the third visit to Madison for this choir, and I think most of the young people come from Liberia, and I can tell you they are very energetic. Lots of fun, and very good. Very good.
So hope you will do that.
Yes.
And then one final announcement. If you haven't gotten your flu shot, I would say, looking at the age of the group, you need to get your flu shot. And also, if you haven't had your pneumonia shot, get the pneumonia shot. However, I'm encouraging you to get your flu shot at Walgreens because they have a special program. If you get your flu shot, I don't remember the date, between now and mid-October, they are providing vaccinations free. They've hosted an underdeveloped country to which they are providing vaccination shots. So don't go to your doctor. Go to Walgreens. Todd, who is chair, Todd Kummer, who's chair of our program committee, will introduce our speaker. Prior to doing that, what I would say is that this program will be broadcast on WYOU, which is channel 991. It's always at 4 p.m. on a Saturday, and we don't know what Saturday. We know it'll be a Saturday between now and when it shows. So please watch for it. So Todd.
Thanks, Barbara. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Greg Garbinsky this evening. But first, I want to thank Kate for being here and the Return Peace Corps volunteers being a co-sponsor of this meeting. They've been generous in co-sponsoring other meetings we've had, and I hope we can continue this relationship. I think it's a good fit. United Nations thinking about the world and improving relationships throughout the world, and that's exactly what the Peace Corps does. So I really appreciate you being here. So Greg Garbinsky is a good friend, full disclosure, and so that's, I don't need to say any more, right?
No, that's fine.
No.
That gets me in the door at least.
Yeah. And Greg is very busy. He's traveling around the world training, and so it's been sort of hard to get our calendar to mesh with his, but we finally did it tonight. And Greg has over 25 years experience working in natural disasters and humanitarian emergency situations around the globe, but primarily in Africa. From 2003 to 2007, he was head of emergency operations for the UN Food and Agriculture Organization in Africa, and FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization. FAO's goals are, looking at the website today, to eradicate hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition. Secondly, eliminate poverty and move forward with economic and social progress for all. And third, to promote sustainable management and utilization of natural resources. So they do a lot. There's one small UN agency, but what a mission to have, and all the good work they do. Greg has provided extensive training to UN staff, U.S. government, and NGOs about how to respond quickly and effectively with appropriate assistance and support to those affected and vulnerable in disaster situations. He currently works at Interworks LLC, and Interworks provides customized training and consulting services to assist UN and country staff working in disaster management, humanitarian assistance, and development-related fields. Interworks has collaborated in many field projects supporting agencies with design and implementation of disaster preparedness and mitigation projects. So Greg will speak about how the UN, specifically the FAO, deals with disasters with an emphasis on ensuring that people's health and welfare are protected at the same time they receive adequate nutrition. In addition to working in disaster situations, Greg has provided extensive training to UN staff, as I mentioned. So before I hand the podium over to Greg, I have to say one more thing. Stand up, Greg.
Oh, sure.
You're looking at a man who rode his bike from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, 3,800 miles this summer. I didn't bring a picture, but his wife sent a picture out, and I saw it. And he's standing in the Atlantic Ocean, ankle deep in the water, with a huge sign. So it's really great, and I've been following his progress all summer. So, Greg, podium is
Yeah,
yours.
thanks, Todd. And I just got in last night. Well, thank you very much for the marvelous introduction, and I'm pleased to be here. As Todd has said, it's taken a while. We've had this, trying to schedule this for quite a long time, but I'm happy to be the commemorating the opening of this facility for the UN monthly seminars. So thank you very much. I do want to say, I'll just give a little more detail about myself and then go into the topic, which will be about the UN Food and Agriculture Organization and the work it does in emergencies. Is there anyone here that's familiar, has worked with FAO or is familiar with the work FAO does in emergencies? Raise your hand. We have one, we have two, okay, three, okay, good. What I would like as I'm talking, I encourage questions and comment and discussion. And I also, so you don't have to listen to me blab for very long, I do have a few videos that are very short videos that give examples of the kind of programs that are going on in various countries with various emergencies. So hopefully that'll spur discussion and give you a better awareness and understanding of the program. As Todd said, I've worked with FAO with emergencies. I'm also a returned Peace Corps volunteer. I worked in a country that used to be called Upper Volta. Does anyone know where that is? Yeah, it's now Burkina Faso. But when I went, it was Upper Volta, and when I was going there, it's in West Africa, a landlocked country north of Ghana. We were neighbors almost, except at different times. When I was going there, my family and friends gave me a going away party, and most of them asked, so had never heard of Upper Volta and didn't even know where it was. And they asked, they said, well, you're going where again? I said, Upper Volta. They said, I didn't know Russia had Peace Corps. So, yeah, they were thinking of the Volga. So, in fact, I had to look it up when they told me where I was going. But I also, in addition to that kind of launched my international career. And after that, decided I wanted to keep working internationally. So, in the course of my 37-year career, I've worked with the government. I've worked with the UN, FAO for 7 years. I've worked with an NGO, Africare, also in Africa. And now I'm working in the private sector doing training. So I've kind of seen this realm from all aspects. And there's many different facets to it. And hopefully what I'll be able to show is at least the one facet of working with a UN agency and some of the programs there. So with that, we'll go ahead and make sure that we'll see if this works. Can everyone see that, or do we need to dim the lights?
It's fine.
It's fine? Fine? Pretend you're at home. This is much bigger than my television, I know. So, I will put on my glasses. So we're basically going to look at, talk about food security and emergencies, and I'll talk a little bit background on FAO and so forth, but basically looking at what FAO does. Most of its work is in development, but it does do a fair amount in emergencies as well. And look at particularly resilience and recovery of food production and agricultural-based livelihood. We're looking at mostly talking about livelihoods and dealing with rural populations. So just to give you kind of an overview of tonight, minimal PowerPoints. As I said, it's going to be mostly hopefully discussion, your participation, and a few videos to give some examples of programs. But I'll start first, at least give an overview of FAO for those that may not be familiar with it. I'm going to find out what you know about food security, because that's kind of the basis of the kind of work that FAO does. And then this is a question we were often asked is, why agriculture and livelihoods during an emergency? That makes no sense. You've got an emergency, people are dying, you need life-saving interventions. Why are we talking about crops and livestock and so forth. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then give some examples of some of the types of emergency programs. And I encourage you to ask questions or comment throughout if you have any experience in any of these areas or with some of the things we're talking about. Please, I ask you to contribute as we go. Okay, does that sound okay for everyone? If anyone wants to leave now, you feel free. That's fine. So just a quick overview on FAO. It is a UN agency. It's one of the oldest UN agencies. It was formed in 1945. It was originally based in Washington, D.C., but now is headquartered in Rome. And it's a specialized agency, meaning it's a technical agency with expertise in agriculture, forestry, economics, various things related to animal health, plant protection, so forth, things related to agriculture and agriculture-based livelihoods. And it's formed by the member states. So countries are members of FAO. There's currently 194 member countries, including the United States, and in addition, the European community. And as I said, it's one of the oldest UN agencies, started in 1945, headquartered in Rome, and they're working in over 130 countries worldwide. And that's either on a national or regional level. There's offices in there are many country offices and regional offices around the globe. Just to give you an idea of its size and the budget, their program of work, it's funded by the member countries, assessed contributions on an annual or biannual basis, I think it is, and also voluntary contributions. And the voluntary contributions are important in that that's what funds the emergency program. There are no funds for emergencies within the budget of FAO, so it's almost, actually it's over half, I think almost half the budget of the 2.4 billion is voluntary contributions. Much of that is for disasters and emergencies. Todd talked a little bit to this, looking at the website, but I'll just reiterate just so we're clear. They identified the three main goals, which are pretty lofty and something to strive for, but also very difficult to attain. Eradication of hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition. Elimination of poverty and driving forward of economic and social progress. And the third one, sustainable management and utilization of natural resources. And they achieve those goals or pursue those goals with these 5 strategic objectives. The one in yellow is the one we'll be focusing on tonight, but I thought I'd at least mention the other 4. Eliminate hunger, food insecurity, reduce rural poverty. That's obviously where most of the people working in the agricultural arena are based, as well as forestry and fisheries as well, but most of the population are rural. Promoting sustainable, productive agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, enabling efficient ag and food systems. And then the 5th one, increasing the resilience of livelihoods to disasters. Okay? And I want to do a short exercise. I was going to pass out cards, but maybe we can just do it verbally amongst yourself. We'll be talking about food security and a lot of the work that FAO does in the area it focuses on related to disasters and emergencies is food security. So what I would ask is that you either get together with the person next to you, or we see we have some odd numbers. We can do 3 people together. But what I'd like to do is come up with a definition what you think food security is. If you already know, that's fine, but contribute to the discussion. But when you hear the term food security, which is discussed often in this area, what does that really mean? What is food security? You hear it talked about, but what does it really mean? So just take a moment, pair up together, kind of formulate maybe your own thought first, and then share it together, and then we'll see what you come up with. And don't worry about whether you get it right. It's just whether what people's perceptions are of food security and what it actually means, because it's kind of a nebulous term. So go ahead, talk amongst yourself. If you don't know the person next to you, introduce yourself. I hear some good discussions going on, so I think you're maybe had a chance to delve into a little bit. Is there anybody for their pair or triad would like to offer up what they think food security means when we say food security? Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, you have a dependable source of food that you could rely on and for a sustained period of time.
Okay.
And that would include, there would be healthy type food, so that it would be sustaining and also that would sustain you in case of emergency.
Okay.
And it would-
So there's a time factor in there. There's a,
Yes.
it's not just secure now, but in case something
I think
happens.
so.
Okay. I think you're capturing quite a bit there, actually. Yes.
I think maybe we can also, there's a trust between the producer and the people who eat it. If I don't trust the food, I won't eat it. So I think the food security means also build a trust relationship between the producer and the people.
Okay, very good, because that also will help ensure what she's talking about here with the over time and when there's problems, it's always better to have those networks, those connections, that relationships beforehand, before the emergency. Very good. Others? Yes, Kate?
We had a really interesting take on it, looking at food security from the national level.
Uh-huh.
That as a nation, each country should have the right, the ability to raise and feed their own people. And a lot of times with different policies, whether it's through fair trade, free trade
Yeah.
agreements or
Yeah.
whatever, that a lot of markets get undercut because food comes flooding into money.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit, I think, later. Does that capture your point? Yeah. Okay, anything else anyone like to add?
It needs to be affordable.
Affordable. Okay, very good. Very good.
We also add, and similar to what other people say, is non-perishable, so that it
Non-perishable.
can be stored or
Okay,
saved.
okay. Yes?
We think you should also feel safe going to your food source.
Okay, you have to be able to feel safe going to the food source, yeah. I think you're pretty much, I think from start to finish, you've captured most of the main elements around food security. We'll look at it here. The one definition that comes up, and I think you've captured it around your discussion or your inputs that everyone gave here, pretty much sums it up in total here, I think. Food security exists when all people, at all times, we talked about continuous or at all times. The word that's used, have physical and economic access, that's part of what you're talking about, being able to get to the food safely and that's available, or that you can, it's affordable economically, you can actually purchase it, and that it's sufficient and it's safe and nutritious. I like that, and you started it off, I like that you made no assumption that just because you have food doesn't mean it's nutritious, doesn't mean it's safe, doesn't mean it's, any of these things that we're talking about. And that it meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So this is the generally accepted definition of food security. So you can see there are basically the four components here. Four components are the physical availability of food. Is there food? Is there food? So there has to actually be food available. That's the one primary component. Secondly is having access to it. Access is both economic. Can you afford it? There may be plenty of food. If you don't have any money or have any assets or can't barter or trade, you don't have access to that food. As well as physical access. Can anyone think of a time when you might not have physical access to food? Food might be available in the country, but under what situation we might talk about in a country might you not have physical access to food?
A war situation.
A war situation. If you're on the side, one side or the other, and there's the food that you need or want, maybe you may be cut off from.
Lack of transportation.
Lack of transportation.
It's been a natural disaster.
Natural disaster. We'll see some examples. Flooding, earthquakes, exactly. Okay, so availability, access, those are two. Third one is utilization. What are we talking about when we're talking about utilization? How does that factor in? Being able to cook it. You have materials to be able to prepare it. What about health and hygiene? What about water, sanitation? That's all part of the utilization. You may not be healthy enough to be able to actually eat good food. It could actually make you sicker. Or you may have other things going on. You may have parasites. You may have other things. Food's not going to help you. So being able to utilize the food adequately. And then the last one, which was, I think, mentioned with the first response, over time. Stability of the other three dimensions over time. So these things are basically constant. Food is available, you have access, and you're able to utilize it properly. So that's the four components. If you had to sum up food security, those are the four elements that come to mind. So just reiterating and elaborating a little bit on those in terms of food security. Physical availability of food, that's the supply side of the equation. That's food production, that's you've got stock levels, you've got a net trade, you've got more food coming in than going out, and you have adequate supply. The second one, economic and physical access to food, and that's through trade, bartering, collection of wild foods. It could also be food aid, it could be gifts, it could be theft. Theft is one way of getting food. Community networks, etc. This photograph here, they have access to food. Does it look like?